James, thank you so much for joining us here at Risk Minds International. There are huge amounts of topics on the agenda here, but perhaps front and centre is climate and climate change and the risks surrounding that.
That's right. Physical risks, physical losses from climate-related changes are starting to mount, and that's clearly presenting a challenge for insurers and banks, but it's also affecting people and translating into electorates' voting sentiments and therefore politics. And while the physical changes may become increasingly severe, the really short-term potential risks are around transition, because once people start voting and politicians start introducing new policies to stimulate transition, that's when things can move very quickly in the sectors that banks are lending to and that insurers and asset managers are investing in.
So how do firms need to be prepared with that in mind?
Well, no one has a crystal ball and knows exactly what's going to happen, but good scenario analysis will help you to construct, firstly, a good narrative that you can work with internally, but also put some numbers on that and start to understand how it may play out in terms of your overall profitability, the performance of the sorts of assets and liabilities that you hold. But we see also that the firms that are good at the scenario analysis discipline are generally those who are more on the front foot at understanding the areas of opportunity, new products, new customers, new markets, and positioning their business models to be some of the winners, if there are any winners from climate change.
It's an incredibly complex challenge, and it's one that's sort of evolving and one that's really sort of come to the forefront most in the last sort of 18 months. It's been on agendas for a good few years, but we're now seeing real movement on this. How hard is it for industries to keep up in that environment and keep ahead?
Well, bankers, senior risk professionals in banks and insurance companies and asset managers didn't grow up they didn't build their expertise and their trade on understanding the energy sector or the physical changes to the world. That's not their backgrounds. So, the discipline is out there, but it's not necessarily, it's discipline that needs to be borrowed from other sectors. We at Baringa do and have done for the last 10 or 15 years a lot of work with governments and with the energy sector on overall transition to renewable energy, what decarbonisation pathways for the world look like, how you model them, how you strategise, given that you understand what they are. So there's a lot of interconnectivity between different parts of the system, which goes into that understanding.
So seeking out the right teams and the right expertise is going to be key.
Correct, yeah, absolutely. I've heard people say that data is massively important, and it is important, but actually you've got to know what you're going to do with that data. First understand how you're going to go about the modelling, and then you can think about where to bring the data in.
So what would you like the key message to be that these professionals listening to perhaps you and other people talking about climate and climate modelling take away and take back to their boardrooms after Risk Minds?
Well, no one has yet got to where they want to be, but in our work with clients, it's clear that there's a lot of momentum building for banks, insurers, asset managers, institutional investors to develop those scenario capabilities. And for those that don't, or at the back of the pack, they run a couple of risks. I mean, they run risks of not meeting regulatory expectations, but much more fundamentally important, they run the risk of adverse selection. So if you're the firm without the understanding of how climate change, physical and transition can impact customers, markets, products, if you don't have that understanding, you're going to be on the wrong end of poor lending decisions and poor investment decisions, because everyone else has filtered those ones out of their selection process.
James, great to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.